When I was first at school, I remember my teachers talking with great reverence and enthusiasm about the Shroud of Turin. This is a piece of cloth which has long been claimed to be the burial cloth of Christ. Has been both venerated and disputed over the centuries. And while in 1988 a carbon dating famously concluded that it was a medieval forgery, newer research offers compelling reasons to consider its authenticity. And recent studies utilizing advanced techniques like wide-angled X-ray scattering and isotopic analysis suggest that the shroud could indeed date back approximately 2,000 years. Dr. Liberato De Caro's work on the molecular aging of flax cellulose supports this time frame, connecting the shroud to the Middle Eastern climate consistent with early Christian relics like those at Masada. Similarly, isotopic analysis aligns the flax origin with the Levant, further, probably not far away from Lebanon or the Golan Heights, further discrediting the idea of it being a European medieval creation. So probably it's a piece of cloth that came from Galilee. Forensic analysis also adds weight to its possible authenticity. Professor Giulio Fanti has noted that the wounds on the shroud are consistent with crucifixion, matching the Gospel accounts of Jesus' death, and Fanti has even suggested that a burst of radiation might have formed the shroud's image, hinting at something extraordinary, perhaps linked to what is now called in Christianity the resurrection. The 1988 carbon dating, which dated the shroud to between 1260 and 1390, has since been questioned, and there are pieces of the shroud which were repaired and which form little sort of triangular slots after the shroud itself was burnt, singed in a fire. But because of the way it was folded, the singe marks go through specific areas, and they're the same marks in different places. And Fanti's suggestion is again quite compelling. The 1988 carbon dating, which is the one which sort of apparently discredited everything, is therefore overturned. And critics have argued that sample contamination could have skewed the results. And Dr. De Caro notes that fabric contamination could easily impact carbon dating, a hypothesis supported by his recent research showing different temperature and humidity conditions could drastically affect the aging profile of linen cellulose. While these findings are indeed provocative, they're not universally accepted, and some scientists remain skeptical, arguing that the new methods are either inconclusive or reliant on assumptions that may not hold up under serious scrutiny. However, even skeptics cannot deny that the recent evidence challenges the earlier condemnation of the Shroud of Turin as a medieval artifact. Among other things, of course, the big question is how on earth could somebody in the medieval period have constructed this? Not only how could they have painted it, but how could how could they have burnt it into the linen itself, which is how it seems to be preserved, and more than that, burnt it in as a negative of the true likeness. It's an extraordinary piece of. It's an extraordinary jigsaw of what should we call it? Occult. It is an extraordinary, yes, it's extraordinary curiosity of the occult, of the arcana, of the esoteric. And so while the broad consensus among scientists and archaeologists is that the Shroud's researchers have not yet presented evidence that is compelling enough to yield a clear verdict of authenticity, it's evident that many features of the Shroud require greater explanation than those that that have so far been produced, and also do not necessarily confirm the forgery. From this point of view, possible future interdisciplinary research directions include a detailed and homogeneous description of the exact weave, possibly including novel technologies, and a survey of the aging of all spots, possibly with the help of micro examinations, aided by new, powerful, and innovative techniques. Photo excitation with a novel broad X-radiation technique to further constrain the composition of coloring materials. Correlative variable pressure scanning, electron microscopy, and electron backscattered diffraction to unequivocally determine the amorphous, the crystalline phases and size and distribution of fabric impurities. All of these things could be done, but you know, it is extraordinary that it's only about 40 years ago the jury had decided this was a forgery, and now suddenly there's a pretty compelling consensus this is not a forgery, and there's good evidence to suggest that the linen may go back to 2,000 years of age, but no one can quite go on to say what this is scientifically. And is this a demonstration of somebody sweating in a chemically or biologically reactive way, or is this something unique? The Christian story suggests it's something entirely unique, and if it is indeed linked to that, this is quite literally an icon of the chief character in the Christian story, an icon of God, an icon of Jesus. I think it will be a long time before that conclusion will be scientifically validated, if at all. But it is strangely exciting that suddenly there's some sort of truth or possible truth in this piece of cloth. I find that terribly rewarding.